Good morning. This is Cadet Pimentel. Today I will be answering the 12 Scholarship Board questions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my video statement. So question 1. Why do I want to be an officer in the Army? Well, for me, I would want to be an officer in the Army because of the ability to serve others, the pride that comes with being an officer, the accomplishment I feel, the physical challenge, and the feeling of being on a team. As a baseball player in high school, these were feelings that I often got, with the exception of serving, and now I'm not a baseball player anymore, but definitely I get to I get to serve others and still get the feeling of being part of a team, of being, you know, an athlete, and most of all, I get the feeling of pride that comes with being a member of the U.S. Army. Question 2. Tell me about a time you wanted to quit and why. What did you do? Well, for me, my junior year of high school, I hurt myself really badly in a pitching accident. And a few months later, I hurt myself again really badly in a sliding collision I had while I was base running in a game. So, obviously, these two injuries were very traumatic, and not only physically but mentally as well. Left me very far behind my peers and my other teammates who at that time were already getting scouted by colleges. I had lost the opportunity to play college baseball effectively, and at a certain point, I decided that it wasn't for me. That for me, it was time to hang up the cleats. I decided this because eventually, I think for me the hardest thing was to just let go and understand that there are other things in life than just playing baseball. Well, obviously, yes, I did quit, but without me me letting go of baseball, I wouldn't have been able to find the military, in which I think now is a more fulfilling career. Question 3. What is my greatest strength and my greatest weakness? Well, for me, my greatest strength definitely is resiliency. I don't like to give up. Um, I will give 100% effort into everything I do. And my greatest weakness will definitely have to be fear. Fear of failure, fear of everything. Fear is something that, for me, will stop me from doing what I want to do. And it'll also lessen my abilities to, in order to do so. How would I use my greatest strength to the betterment of our organization, and what am I doing to improve my greatest weakness? So, my greatest strength, resiliency, and never giving up. As a leader, I have to motivate the people who I serve, as well as the people who I serve with. So, personally, as an individual, if I see someone who I'm supposed to look up to, never give up, serve as an example, I'm not going to want to give up. And as a peer, when I see, my other fellow MS1s, MS2s, MS3s not giving up, it makes me want to keep going, not for myself, but for them. So if I can bring that kind of motivation as a person who never gives up, I will be able to successfully motivate the people around me. What am I doing to improve my greatest weakness? Well, for me, I've started to develop a no fear excuse me, a no losses attitude. As the boxer Conor McGregor once said, "I never lose. I only win or I learn." So if you win, if you defeat the challenge, you won something. But if you lose, well, don't think of it as a loss. Think of it as you're learning something, and you can always win. You can always be learning things. Why do I deserve the scholarship more than my peers? Well, the truth is I don't. I either deserve it just as much as my peers or not as much as them because I am a new cadet who came in this semester. I haven't gone through the same suffering they did through the first semester. I haven't had the chance to integrate myself as well into the warrior battalion as much as my other peers. But I feel like I deserve it as much as them is because I feel like I am just as motivated and I am just as willing to take on the challenge of becoming an army officer. Do I consider myself to be a great team player? If not, why? If so, what makes you great? I consider myself to be a great team player. Through my time playing baseball in high school, playing sports, I learned that you never can never win something yourself. A coach once told me that you can't ever hit a 5-run home run after I swung when he told me specifically not to swing. That's when I learned that on a team, you each play a part. Stepping on other toes and dominating is never a good quality of teamwork, and it only detriments the machine and makes it run less efficiently. Describe a stressful situation for yourself. What did you do to cope with your stress? Well, I can think of one really stressful situation that really sticks out to me. When I was a 15-year-old baseball player playing junior varsity baseball, my coach decided to just give me a test. I had expressed to him that I would like to pitch, so instead of warming me up in the bullpen or giving me lessons, instead what he did was he just threw me in a game. So for me, that was terrifying. I had never thrown on the bullpen on a mound before, a high school mound before at that point, and I didn't really know what to expect. So what happened was I could barely throw any strikes for the for the first few batters. Eventually, my coach saw that I was starting to lose my bearing on the mound. So what he did was he ordered all the fielders, the outfield, the infield, everybody to sit down. He said, this guy's not gonna throw strikes. Everybody sit down." So at that point, that's when you have to focus. For me, if you've ever seen the movie For Love of the Game, there's a scene where um, where the pitcher does something called clear the mechanism, where he's able to ignore everything going on around him and he's able to focus just on the task at hand. And for me, that's my coping mechanism. All I do is I focus just on the task at hand. I breathe in and out, and all I was focused on was throwing the pitch, next movement. What am I gonna do now? And eventually, I was able to get out of the inning unbelievably with no earned runs. So for me, as a leader, what I can do is when I'm faced with stressful situations, no matter how physical, mental, emotional, what the best step to do is just to slow everything down and focus on the next step you're going to take. Tell me about a situation you had to go above and beyond to get the job done. Wow, this is one that I can definitely tell, and hoping as a cadre you guys will have seen this, but this last FTX was my first FTX, and it's definitely one that I'm going to remember forever. Not just because it was my first FTX, but because of things that happened to me on the FTX. So looking back at it now, it's pretty funny, but at the time, it was pretty. It was a test of my character and resiliency. So from the first day, I was already starting to have problems. As a, as I was walking around the forest, I noticed that the soles of my boots started to come off, and eventually it came off to the point where I could stick my entire foot through. But it was okay because I was able to tape it up, and the good things were good to go. The first day was okay, was pretty good. The second day was when the rain started to happen. That is when the rain water washed off the tape on the boots, and basically I was walking around with flip flops. So obviously to me that was a pretty big test of my character. That I don't even have proper footwear. That anything can get to my feet. To make matters worse as well, I forgot to spray bug spray that day, and being allergic to mosquitoes. Well, not allergic, but being very sensitive to mosquitoes. My face looked like a pepperoni pizza. And so to me, the second day, that was a clear test of my character. Is how much do I want to be in here? How much can I take? And thing is, I know as an active duty officer, broken boots and mosquito bites aren't going to be the only ones in my problems. So I think for me, that was a good test of, I can go above and beyond having to rock with, basically flip flops and having to deal with looking like a smallpox victim. As a leader in your last organization, what would you have changed and why? So before, as you guys know, probably my first semester of college at UH Mano, I was an Air Force cadet, and as much as I love the program, there are a few things I would like to change about the leadership there. So the way they divided us in as freshman cadets is that we're divided into flights, and we're commanded by a flight commander. Now, we don't do any FTXs, we don't do any crazy. We didn't do any crazy PTs or anything like that. We did though a lot of mental exercises, memory work, like memorizing quotes, lots of drill and ceremony, things like that. And I think one thing I didn't like seeing when I was a cadet airman there of my time there is I didn't feel like that the upperclassmen who were supposed to be leading us took a real effort to get to know us. I felt like that a lot of them just they were more managers, not leaders. Like, well, I told myself that if I was ever a flight commander there, when I still thought I was going to be in the Air Force, is that I would anything that my flight does, I will do with them. I will take tests with them. I'll do drill and ceremony with them, and I will be one of them. So for me, I would have changed that definitely. Is that there needs? I feel like that at the Air Force, I would have loved to see more leadership from the front, and that's something I definitely see with Army, because in my opinion, a good leader is someone who is first in, last one out, and also is also willing to deal with the same stressors as his subordinates. What did you do better to better your last organization? How did you accomplish this? Well, for me, when I was at my time at Air Force, um, which is my last organization, is that I was told a lot by my peers and by my upperclassmen before I left that I was a very motivating individual, and I was also an individual who took the initiative to help others. Because what I because I because I think that a good leader is someone who is able to bring motivation as well as help others, and has no problem doing that. Now I know that like as cadets we are all competing each other in a sense, to get the branch slots we want, to be have the highest PT score, highest GPA, but the thing what I have to say about that is that um, the only way for us, well, we are the military, and one person is not going to fight all our wars. Person is not going to fight all our battles, and that we need to help each other up. And we truly are only as strong as our weakest link, is because if we have a weak link in the military, that penetrates all of our defenses. Tell me the leaderships of your worst and best and worst officers. So for a good officer for me is one who is relatable, empathetic, has tact, and also is able to motivate his peers and his subordinates. I think that tact is a great way to build yourself as a leader because it allows you to give that command presence and stay in your lane, but at the same time brings you bring, but also at the same time also brings respect for you from your subordinates. I also think motivation as well is because when you want to do something, everyone else around you is going to want to do something. A bad officer for me is someone who has no tact, brings no motivation, is demanding, um, almost tyrannical, because you can't demand everything from your soldiers or your airmen, your marines, your sailors, whatever. You need to understand that they have their limits, that they're human beings just as you are, and you have to have tact. If someone is doing something wrong, you can't just tell someone like you can't just straight up tell them like, oh, you're doing that. Like you can't just curse them out. You can't make them feel like they're garbage. So from an officer who does those things, and to me is someone who isn't as effective, is because it decreases the overall morale of the organization. Question 12, last question. Who has been the most influential leader in your life and why? For me, the person who I think of as most influential leader in my life is my JV baseball coach, Coach Mike Carvalho. So Coach Mike was born and raised here in California, just like I was, just like I am. Uh, when he when he graduated high school, he was ended up being drafted to fight in Vietnam, and he spent a year with the 82nd Airborne. So for me, Coach Mike is is someone who obviously has gone through the pressures of life, has been through has been through true hardship in the war. I remember him telling me he saw 5 of his friends die, and when he got home, that he wasn't treated the best either, considering the political climate and the social climate of the time. So for me, he represents someone who has been through real hardship, and the fact that he spends so much time he spent so much time developing me as a baseball player, developing my friends as a baseball player, and even to this day, developing us as young men, as leaders. I think that for me, that's someone who I would love to look up to, because he has truly gone through the same leadership. He leads by example, and he spends a lot of time in helping us better ourselves as people. So once again, thank you for listening to my video statements. I hope you enjoy this. Ikaika mua.